Well, hello everyone. I would like to welcome you to this representation of my talk on the Common Core state standards for K-12 education and their potential impact on college admissions. I'm Catherine O'Brien of Celtic College Consultants. I'm a founder and chief certified college planning specialist, and been doing this since 2004, and serving clients across the country for all of that time. And I am having great difficulty accessing my PowerPoint presentation, so I can move it forward. There we go. All right, I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Engineering from Northwestern University, and I have a Master's in Catholic Theology from Franciscan University of Steubenville. Belong to WACAC, HECA, the NCAG, and NICCP, which are professional organizations for independent education consultants, college admissions, people, high school counselors, financial advisors doing college planning. So all of those sorts of professionals. I've had 17 years teaching experience, and let's continue. Today we're going to talk about what the Common Core state standards are, the various impacts in general, and then specifically on college admissions. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some services that can help with the process. So first, the Common Core state standards were adopted recently by governors of states, and they are standards for English and math. They've been adopted by about 40 states. The number changes because some states are doing incremental adoption, some are pulling back from it. There's various things going on in the implementation phase. The goal of the standards is career and college readiness, and that is defined internally by the standards as community college readiness, not four-year university readiness. So it's really a vocational college readiness and a career, getting a job after high school readiness set of standards. The standards themselves call for assessments, testing, and there are two testing organizations which the standards call for, either the Smarter Balanced testing or the PARCC testing. Both are given on computer at various stages in the academic process. The Common Core standards have been hotly debated by many across the country. University scholars have decried them in some areas, welcomed them in others. In particular, 130 Roman Catholic scholars across the country from various colleges and universities, Catholic and otherwise, put together a letter opposing the standards and why, and they sent that to all of the Catholic bishops. At this time, the Common Core standards are not adopted in Alaska. In Minnesota, the math standards have not been adopted. Nebraska, Texas, Indiana, Oklahoma, Virginia, Puerto Rico, and South Carolina. That may change as time goes on, but for right now, those are the states that they are not adopted in. So let me share with you from an Ed Week article from April of 2005 of why colleges should care about the Common Core. And this was written by the Dean of the School of Education at University of California in Davis, California. And he says, what will be characteristic of Common Core students entering college are learning experiences featuring more inquiry-based learning and collaborative problem solving, sequenced skills by grade level, and learning across the curriculum, and more hands-on work. In addition to the essential skills in math, students will focus on conceptual math, that is, understanding the reasoning behind the correct problem solution rather than the algorithm. They will also have experienced applying mathematical concepts to real-world problems and will have been focused on fewer subject areas. Finally, students will be used to testing on computers and in states with testing developed by the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium, testing that is adaptive. These are not likely to be the skill sets or course-taking experiences called for in the majority of today's college-level freshman and sophomore classes. Rather, these tend to be large enrollment, minimally interactive, and textbook-based. For the sciences, there's likely to be a lab section, but as an adjunct to the lectures and where the experiments have known outcomes. Memorization of materials in the arts and sciences at the college level is critical to performing well on tests, as is performing procedures. The article by the dean goes on to cite National Science Foundation, Mathematical Science, and Modern Language Association's calls for not a change in the standards, no, these untested brand new standards, but a call for change in undergraduate teaching, which I found is a very interesting spin. So let me go over this a little bit and explain what it means. So it's a great summary of the outcome expected from the Common Core standards. And so what he is saying there in that first paragraph is that students are going to learn basic skills, and they're going to learn them in an interdisciplinary way, which is very helpful so that they are going to understand kind of the economics of the history, and they'll be looking at some of the mathematical portions of various things that go on, and the literary works that were being produced during a historical period or about events in a historical period can be tied in, that sort of thing. Not problematic. In general, that'll be really helpful as long as the kids have a basic grasp of what's going on in the area and they're not getting confused. But that really shouldn't be problematic, I think, for most, and many do already educate that way. The conceptual math focus, for me as an engineer, is a little bit of a concern. It is important that students see that the math that they're memorizing and learning how to do does make sense and where it came from, but often that process is pretty advanced. So to expect them to master that at a very young age is unrealistic, and it really, I think, puts some obstacles in front of them when they just need to master the skills. They just need to have the strong skill set, and later on, as they advance in math, they can go back and understand more clearly the philosophy of math and the underpinnings of the various mathematical formulae that have been defined and tested and working together, and how that works. And some of them, as they break down in science, as we have more discoveries and analyzing that, but that is a higher level. When very young children are involved with that, it's hard. They're very concrete in their thinking at that age, and so you're putting big abstract concepts in front of them, asking them to articulate, write about those concepts when they are in a phase of brain development that is very concrete. That is challenging. These are my comments about it, obviously. And then his second paragraph has to be taken in context of the fact that he works at the University of California School. So he works at a large public university. And so often at those settings, the first and some of the second year courses are huge lecture hall courses, and your skill set is different than this collaborative model. Not everyone's going to go to a big university. Some people are going to go to a smaller liberal arts school or religious school or just a small campus, and they're going to have much smaller classes, and this interactive, interdisciplinary, collaborative skill set will be much more active right from the get-go in their beginning phases at university. So really, I think we need both. We need to have our concrete skills very well honed and defined and known, and we need to be able to collaborate and communicate. So, but I wanted to share that because that's showing the pluses and minuses of what's happening with this set of standards and what the goals are in them. I think personally that the call for a change in undergraduate teaching to correlate to a brand new, untested, non-benchmarked set of standards for K-12 students is ludicrous. I think it's backwards. Undergraduate teaching has been tested and working for a long time to various degrees. And, the Catholic Church started the university system in the 13th century. So we have 700 years of data of how students learn and are proficient. And if we look at what's been going on and what's been very effective, I think we know what to do at the college level. And I think we even know what to do at the K-12 level. But anyway, so I don't agree with his conclusion, but I do appreciate the summary that he gives of the Common Core standards and what we can expect from the students who are educated using these standards. So let's move on. Now, to tie the Common Core in, I'm starting to move towards a perspective of focus on college admissions. Let's look at the relationship between the Common Core standards and the ACT and the SAT, the two big college entrance tests. From the ACT website, it says, ACT is pleased to have played a leading role in the development of the Common Core state standards. They actually go on, they have a white paper available on their website, and they go on to explain how they actually shared their own standards that they have developed over the years, because the ACT has always continually revised its material and its style of testing to correlate to both the college expectations as well as the curriculum used in the high schools across the country. So they have their own set of standards, which they shared with the Common Core to assist that committee in building the standards. So ACT was very involved in the development. So playing a leading role is very accurate. But they've been very quiet, so a lot of people are not aware that there's this strong correspondence between what the ACT has been doing and the Common Core standards. And then further from their website, it says, after assessing over 256,000 high school students, which is a group not limited to those hoping to go to college, in 2010, all across all Common Core domains, strands, and clusters, so various ways of breaking down the test results, only 1/3 to 1/2 of the 11th grade students are reaching a college and career readiness level of achievement. So they're identifying that there's a big problem. The next paragraph, I delineate from their website what they define as college and career readiness. Okay, and the readiness benchmarks, they're finding based on their research that the minimum scores for college for students to have about a 75% chance of getting a C or better, 50% chance of getting a B or better in selected courses means they need to have an English score of 18, a math score of 22, a reading score of 21, a science score of 24, and at least a 7 on their essay. So those are baseline benchmarks for college success. So that's kind of what they're finding. What they're finding a huge deficiency. The question is whether these standards are going to be assisting that. But we see a strong correlation between the Common Core and the ACT. Now, I also want to comment about the community colleges, because I found this very interesting, that more than 100 colleges in California, 10 in Hawaii, 24 in Oregon, 49 in Washington, and 6 in South Dakota. Not sure why it's so West Coast based, but it is. They're using the Smarter Balanced Assessment as a placement exam into the courses of the community college. We also have 4 Delaware colleges that will accept the Smarter Balanced Assessments in lieu of other placement exams. So some states and colleges are experimenting with testing options to determine community college readiness, and a lot of them are falling back and using the Common Core testing, the Smarter Balanced testing, to do that. It's convenient for them. Is it what they need in order to properly assess students? That's another question, and that's not a topic for our conversation today, but it is a question to be considered. Okay, so let's take a look at Common Core in 4-year college and universities, which is what most people that view my website and my videos are looking at, going to a 4-year college or university. So from my research on what admissions is looking for, 70% of or more of the weighting of the various credentials the students give is toward academics, which just makes sense. They're going there to get an education, so the academics credentials are going to be the most important. Frankly, I was quite surprised to see that the activities came into play at a 30% rate in the considerations of admissions. It varies from school to school, but that overall is what I was finding. So to step aside for just a second, we do have over 850 colleges and universities that are test optional or test flexible. I believe there's only one that is truly test irrelevant. They do not accept any test scores, and I'm forgetting right now the name of that school. But there are a good number of schools, we're getting closer and closer to 1,000, who will accept tests, but they don't require them. Okay, this includes over 165 schools that are ranked in the top tier of their category, be they a liberal arts school or an engineering school or whatever their category is. And it includes more than a third of the top-ranked liberal arts colleges are test optional. Makes sense for a liberal arts college. That sort of education requires a lot of collaboration and a lot of ability to write, so they can certainly do an application full of essays. Even I've seen one that actually has a paper. It's got a 10-page paper that you submit, and that's the major part of your application. So those kinds of colleges and universities can certainly evaluate their applicants based on their writing skills. That's going to tell them what they need to know. But I am finding as I continue my research that some merit aid, even at test optional schools, is still tied to the test scores. So if we are looking to avoid the tests because maybe we're at a place where we're not using a Common Core curriculum, and as you'll see, the tests are very tied into the Common Core curriculum, we're still potentially going to have some challenges, and we may be forfeiting the opportunity for some merit money. So just need to know what we're looking at so we can make the appropriate decisions. There's an organization called Fair Test, and their public education director, Bob Schaefer, concluded that admissions offices don't need the SAT, old or new. A recent major report found that test optional policies promote academic quality while increasing enrollment of first-generation and other low-income students. One of the considerations that's being brought into all of this analysis in the higher education world is the access of some students to test prep, which is why the College Board is making a big deal about partnering with Khan Academy to do free SAT test prep for the new SAT. They're trying to even that playing field. It's never really going to work because a one-on-one tutor is expensive and we can't all afford it. Online programs can be excellent and can be mediocre, and the students' motivation and circumstances and all of that have a lot to say. There are some students from very poor situations that shine and do very, very well, and they make the headlines. And there are the students with every advantage in the world that end up not going, dropping out, doing a lot of other things. Okay, so let's continue. In order to evaluate students, the admissions office is going to receive a number of pieces of information. So typically they are going to receive your GPA, your transcript, your class rank. They're going to take a look at your academic challenge. And what that means is they're going to look at the possible courses you could have taken and what you chose to take. They're going to look at your grade trends. Did you have a rough start and then you did better and better and better as you moved through the high school years? Did you do really well and just fall apart at some point? Sometimes a student has an incident in their life and that will affect their grade trend, and you can see that impact and then it goes away. All of those sorts of things are considered, especially by your more selective colleges and universities. They are also going to look on the academic side at your test scores, both the SAT and ACT, sometimes AP scores, CLEP scores, SAT 2 subject scores, all of those sorts of things, IB scores. So those are the considerations on the academic side that are going to be presented to the admissions office. This chart, I'm sorry, is a little bit hard to read, but it does show per NACAC, which is a National Association for College Admissions Counseling organization. This includes college admissions officers, high school counselors, and independent consultants like myself. And they do a lot of data gathering on a national basis. And so the year they have the most recent information for is 2011, but it shows that the academic, it's sort of the data showing that the academics are the most important things. We see the grades in the college prep courses being of considerable importance to 84% of the schools. Strength of curriculum to 68%. The admission scores drop down to 59%. Grades in all courses are 52%. And then you drop down to 25% for the essays. But if you combine it with the moderate importance, that is, what, 63%. So you see significance there, and then things like recommendations and rank and working and other things like that are much, much lower in the evaluations. Even the SAT 2 scores are quite low in the rankings. So there are some changes starting already. The ACT has been adopted by a number of states and school districts to be an exit exam, or to be an exam that they're administering across the board to all the students in their schools. And these started being administered on computer in May of 2015, and that will continue, but not for the national administrations, which is when we all sign up and say we want to take it on a certain Saturday as we're preparing to apply to college. Those are going to stay on paper for the time being. And it's going to continue to be aligned to, I thought this was an interesting circular logic example. The test will still be aligned to validated ACT college readiness standards and benchmarks, which were the same standards and benchmarks they shared with the Common Core people to help create those standards. So it goes around. So it's saying it's Common Core aligned without saying that it's Common Core aligned. So now you know what they really are saying. All right. The ACT now, starting in September of 2015, there's a second set of changes that are being brought into the ACT. The 36 top score is continuing, the 21 being average is continuing, but they are going to be sharing an enormous amount of data, and the SAT is going to be doing the same thing. So you're still going to have the 4 component scores, your English, math, reading, science, plus your essay score. But then they're also going to share hybrid scores, English, language arts, and STEM. They're going to have 11 domain sub-scores, things like rhetorical skills and ideas and analysis. And I think their idea is to make it more useful for the colleges and the universities so that they can maybe evaluate students' readiness for various majors. But it's something that's brand new, and it might be a little bit confusing to look at when you are getting these score reports. They're also adding some sections. So I'm going to go over that in a little bit more detail momentarily. Just so you are aware, the colleges can see the essays and the essay graders' remarks. Okay, that's not new. That's been going on for some time. The colleges also receive something new, the overall GPA chance of success on the score report. The student, however, does not receive this. So I'll be showing the score reports because they are quite different one from another. On the writing test is being changed on the ACT starting in September 2015. The current one is classic persuasion. Proposition, are you for it or against it, and why? Very argumentative, straight logic. And they're changing it now so that they are presenting something with a rhetorical question that's more broadly argumentative. Then they're also going to share 3 perspectives on that complex issue to generate an argument based on reasoning knowledge and experience. Now, this is what the top writers among the students were supposed to be doing anyway. Now they're presenting it out to everyone. So in a sense, they're dumbing it down. In a sense, they're making it more complex because you have to bring in their things. We'll see how it all goes. But the writing is being significantly changed. I strongly encourage you to look at the samples on the websites and see what they have, and that will give you a much better idea than any explanation to actually look at the samples. Now, back to the score reports. This is the one to the college. This is just a very small section of it. I blew it up big enough so that we could all see it. And you'll see that they're actually projecting, based on the test scores of a student, the chances of success, the chance of getting a B or better or a C or better in various typical freshman courses. So we've got general areas on the left there, and of students, so students in the College of Education or students who are studying business administration, what their chances are in the courses. Okay, it's just interesting. On the right, those are specific courses. They've kind of obviously summing up data from a lot of different schools, but that's what they're looking at. They're not sharing that information with the student or with the high school. That's only on the copy of the report that goes to admissions. I have brought that to their attention that that is not in alignment with their mission statement of providing information to students to make career and college decisions. And all I got was shrugged shoulders of, yep, that's what we're doing. So please join me in asking for this data. If they're going to give it, they should give it to everyone. But they are stepping into admissions here in this particular realm. Additionally, the high school report includes this section, which the colleges also get, but the student does not get. And this absolutely needs to be shared with the students. So you get the chances of Bs, but they also get the rank of the score by college. So for this sample, these are all made up colleges, but they are showing the chance where the students' score ranks. So they can see, I've got a really slim chance at this college, I've got a really excellent chance at that college. And that kind of information, when it's specific to a particular score, is not something that is available anywhere else. So this would be truly helpful. So if you're homeschooled, you need to wrestle with the ACT. They were not at all clear with me when I spoke with them about who gets the high school report. Certainly, I would be calling and demanding that the parent gets the high school report because you're functioning as the high school administration and the high school guidance counseling office. If your student is going to a high school, then I would have your student absolutely, positively follow up with their counseling office. The ACT is leaving it at the high school's discretion about whether or not they disclose this information to the students. So if the student doesn't know it's there and the school opts to not bother, they're not going to know. And it's really useful information, especially junior year when you're trying to make your final college selections before you're applying. On the student report, you get the middle 50%, which is that range of scores that you can get in a lot of different places, and you get some information about financial aid, which has something to do with your scores, but they're not talking about merit-based aid. This is all generic, and I was flabbergasted. For a report of scores, you want academic information. This is not something to do with financial aid. So I'm very disappointed in the ACT for this disparate information and for it not being shared with everyone. The full reports, if you'd like to look at them, are on the ACT site. As you see, I have the website page noted at the bottom of each of these pages, but they're all available on their website. So it's not like there's magic to go get it. Go ahead and take a look yourself and let them know what you think about what they're doing. Okay, so to summarize, starting in September 2015, the ACT is Common Core lined. You have more detailed score reports with numerous sub-scores, and you have the college success rating in the high school and college versions of the score reports, but not in the student version. And then the state and district administrations will be offered via computer. And those are all sorts of different dates, because obviously if a school district is setting it, they're going to set the date with the ACT, and then everybody in their district is going to take it. So all the high schools in that district would have their juniors probably take it. So let's take a look at the SAT. So through January 2016, it is what it has been. The 3 sections, critical reading, math, and writing, with 800 points each. That's not changing until March of 2016. And then the writing section is being folded in, and the reading section is being changed from critical reading to evidence-based reading and writing. And then you have a math section. So we're going back to a 1,600 total score, which is what we adults are used to. They also are going to show many, many sub-scores. For example, in the evidence-based reading and writing, you're going to get a reading score, you're going to get a writing and language score. They have what they're calling cross tests, because some of the writing passages are going to be related to science, others are going to be related to history or social studies, and they're going to give scores for those to try and compete with the ACT, because they already have a science score showing. And then the essay, you're going to be graded on your reading, the analysis, and writing, and you're going to have a combined score with 2 raters, each scoring you from 1 to 4 on each of those 3 things. So it gives you a little bit more information. It's just very different than what you've been used to seeing. On the math side, they have this not very well defined area called Heart of Algebra. You're going to get a score for that. Passport to Advanced Math, you're going to get a score for that. Problem solving and data analysis, you're going to get a score for that. What exactly they mean by those three topics, I have an engineering degree. I couldn't really figure it out. I'm sorry. I've done a ton of math courses, but it wasn't clear to me what they exactly are meaning or what courses those correlate to. In some of what I've read, it looks like they're going to start to incorporate some trigonometry and maybe some analytic geometry, but it's not entirely clear. The ACT has included those two for years, but it's not clear if that's part of what the SAT is including with the advanced math or not. Sometimes it sounds like it, sometimes it doesn't. Subscores, writing, you have expression of ideas, standard English conventions, can you write in English? Relevant words and contexts, what's your word choice like? That's a vocab, that's where that is. And command of evidence. So is what you're saying correlating to the evidence that you were presented in the essay. So starting in March of 2016, the SAT is Common Core aligned also. It's only going to give you two main scores, the evidence-based reading and writing and the math, so a total of 1,600. And you have a much more detailed score report with many, many sub-scores. The essay is revamped. It's now 50 minutes. I strongly urge you, as I did on the ACT side, to go look at what they're doing with the essay. Go look at an example there. Both tests are changing their essays significantly. Now let's take a look, because those are not the only test scores that a student may be giving to admission. So we might also be submitting AP scores. Well, the AP courses and tests are also aligned to the Common Core. In the AASA is a National Superintendents of Schools Association. So at a conference, the AP session on the AP in the Common Core era, Trevor Packer, the Senior Vice President of the College Board's AP program, told school superintendents that his organization would integrate Common Core standards in the AP exams. It is my understanding that as of this point, at the beginning of the 2015-16 school year, that has been completed. They've been gradually working on it. So those tests have all been revised to align to the Common Core standards. The International Baccalaureate, some students are going to be presenting these credentials as well. And this is what they had to say on their website. The IB welcomes the CCSS as a state-led initiative to enhance student success beyond high school. The IB continues to work with its community of schools to meet the high expectations of the Common Core state standards. That is what they had to say. I was quite disappointed. If it's an International Baccalaureate, it's rather rigorous. There are internationally benchmarked tests. For them to say this, to me, it points that there's some sort of relationship in the background, and yes, there is one. This does not coincide with the data, the reality of the experience of IB and Common Core. Now we also have the CLEP test, which is also offered by the College Board. I could find absolutely no sign that these are being adapted in any way. Now they test college level material, and the Common Core standards are for K-12 level material. And so it does not appear that they are or will be aligned with the Common Core standards. So these started as tests for military to capture their expertise that they gained while they were serving, and they were translating to go back to college when they came out. They've also been used extensively by the homeschooling community and others, adult learners who are re-entering and just looking at life a little bit differently. But they are very parallel to the AP exams, and they are also available more often. AP is only offered on a strict schedule in May at brick and mortar schools. The CLEP exams have many, many, many places across the country and the world where they are available, and they're available every month. And I think if you don't do well enough on one, you have to wait 2 months, you could take it again. They also, though, do not have a tab on the College Board website, and they haven't for a long time. Not quite sure why the College Board kind of doesn't advertise them more, but they don't. But if you go to the collegeboard.org website, in their little search bar, you put in CLEP, you will find extensive pages on the CLEP exams. There's 33 of them, and they give the breakdowns, just like on the AP tests, of what sub portions of each subject are being tested and to what extent in each exam they are. So it's very helpful. Dual enrollment is when a high school student takes college classes. Now, because the Common Core standards are high school standards, if a student is taking college classes instead of high school classes as a high school student, it's going to be a case-by-case basis, because there's two things going on. We have kids who are advanced, so they're taking community college classes because they're already beyond what their high school offers. And we also have remedial from the college perspective, therefore high school level courses, and sometimes students will trade those out. Sometimes homeschoolers will use them to do the high school curriculum, and then they'll just move forward from there. Whether those remedial college courses, i.e. high school level courses offered on the community college campuses, are going to be Common Core aligned, it remains to be seen, particularly in situations where the Smarter Balance test is being used as a placement test. I would expect them to change then their remediated courses to align with the Common Core, since their testing is aligned with the Common Core. But if they're using different testing, that wouldn't necessarily be the case. So it is a possibility that you could get your courses this way and not use Common Core standards. So just presenting that because I am aware that there's a population that's not crazy about the Common Core standards, and so they're looking at the impact. Dual enrollment, when you present two transcripts to a university, and you have your high school transcript and you have a college transcript, most of the time the colleges are very pleased to see it because you're demonstrating proficiency at the college level at a very young age. And especially students that are very advanced in an area, because they've taken the initiative, they've moved themselves forward, and they are taking advanced courses, which will often transfer. Every college and university, of course, has its own policy. Some will accept no transfers from anywhere. Others will accept many. So you'll need to see what the policy is at your target university. Okay, so a summary about Common Core and admissions. The ACT, SAT, AP, and IB tests are Common Core aligned. The CLEP tests are not, and there are 2,900 colleges and universities that accept CLEP. In case you're thinking it's a minor thing, it's not. It's accepted almost universally. Dual enrollment courses, by and large, are not Common Core aligned, and many colleges, most colleges, accept transfer credits. So they're going to evaluate them, of course, for the caliber of the course and see what they would correlate to on their campus and all of that sort of thing. But you'll want to do your homework on that, but that's a possibility as well. And then you have your test optional schools. And remember that approximately 70% of the admissions criteria are academics related, quite naturally. Okay, let me talk a little bit about services that I provide and how I can support you in the overall process of preparing your students, selecting colleges, and funding it all. So I do provide comprehensive college planning services. I work with students across the country. My last class of seniors were offered over $255,000 in merit scholarships each on average. So it ranged from almost $700,000 down, depending on the student. The previous year didn't report everything, but I know they received over $133,000 each based on what they did report. So I'm working on improving the reporting and finding out how much they really get. And this is just merit scholarships. This isn't completely independent of any need-based aid. So the things that I do in the college selection piece, which is extremely significant because that's where 99% of the scholarship money comes from the colleges and universities. So that college selection portion of this process is highly significant, and I'm pretty good at it. So there are three options to work with me. First is my Premier One-on-One Student Preparation Services, and that includes things like financial aid maximization, doing career search and student prep, campus visits. There's ways to do that that are much more effective than other ways. Preparing an achievement resume, college selection, scholarships, application preparation, financial aid application. I file those for my clients. Final college selection once we have all the awards and everything's all in. So the way to start, if you're interested in working with me on this basis, is to go to my website, CelticCollegeConsultants.com, and there's a tab right in the middle there to schedule a consultation with me. I have a very limited number of students per graduating class that I can work with. And we all start with a consultation, and we'll discuss where you're at, how things are going for you, what I might be able to help with, and how we could possibly work together. And I'll make recommendations. And it's not always for the one-on-one. It just depends on what's going on with your family and what's going to serve you the best. And that I have found to be an extremely useful meeting. Some people, all they ever do is that meeting because the student wakes up. I have them do a little survey ahead of time, and that conversation really makes the reality of how quickly college is coming and the application season is coming and the things that they need to do very real for them. And that really helps them get moving. It lights a fire under them, and they can see why things correlate to other things and why they need to do what they're doing. The second option is I have created online courses. These are recorded courses. I have a foundation course for freshmen and sophomores, which is focused on the career and college search. The junior course is focused, again, on the college search, refining that, and on testing. And the senior course is focused on application preparation, admissions, and aid. These are very nice. This is the same strategies that I use with my one-on-one clients. And the nice thing about having them in these recorded things is you can watch them more than once, and I'm not being interrupted. So sometimes there are things when I'm working one-on-one I may forget, or I'm focused in on a student, so there's other things I'm not sharing because it's not really pertinent, or we run out of time, or something we're working on takes up too much and that we just don't get to it until later. And you're getting the ideal presentation timeline in the online courses. And on my website, also, CelticCollegeConsultants.com, you will see service options, and the courses are there with a lot of detail about all of them and links to sign up for them. And you can start them anytime, with the exception of the senior course. That's the application process. It's designed to start in June because application season opens July 1st, August 1st, depending on which applications the colleges are using. So there's a lot to get moving on. So you can start that later in the fall and you're going to be catching up. But to start at spring senior year, for example, isn't really going to work very well. But the rest of them, you'll have a year access, and you can accelerate your way through them because you're behind, or you can go through them a second time, whatever makes sense. You get a year's access for each course. The third option is we'll have a consultation, and I have a breakout sheet of all my various services, and we can create a custom package for you and leverage what skill set you have, what's going on with your student, the particular needs that your family has, and create something. And I'll also get the ad hoc people that call me and say, I would like to hire you for an hour to do this. And if I have the time, I'm happy to do that. And if I don't, I try to make a referral, so you're not left alone. So the best way to start is to do a Skype consultation. Spend an hour with just your family. As I said, there's a student survey that I ask them to fill out first. If you're really convinced that the courses are a better situation for you, feel free. You can just go to my website and sign up for those. Sign up for the consultation through the website as well. And I do apply $150 of the consultation fee towards whatever consulting services you use. I don't apply it to the courses, but I do apply it to the consultation services. And that's because the courses are already significantly discounted. I just can't do that. So I thank you for coming. I hope this has answered a lot of your questions and helped you clarify what's going on between the Common Core state standards, the various testing, and college admissions, so that you can make the most effective choices for your student and have college success. Thank you so much.